Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Mathilde, I'm a French knitter, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. Now, I've taken quite a long break from filming knitting podcasts because if you don't know, I've had pain in my shoulder and arm, so I couldn't knit for about 2 months, and so didn't have anything to update you on. But that being said, I have been able to get back to knitting a little bit. I'm, taking it much more slowly than I've been previously and not having as much progress, I guess, as I would have over the last few months. But I've still got 2 finished objects to talk about. I think 3 whips that you've seen before and 2 new whips, I want to say. So let's get into it. I also have quite a bit of yarn to show you because I may have broken my yarn ban, but we'll get into that. And I do have at the end some questions to answer, because one of the things that I've been doing to calm and prevent my pain to come back or to continue is that I've been switching my knitting style from English to Continental, and so I've had a few questions about that, and we'll get to that at the end of the video. So the first 2 finished or the only finished objects that I've got to share with you today, I don't have with me anymore, but I've got some very cute pictures and even some video footage to show you because they're just the cutest thing. So first thing, and I do have the yarn actually. So my sister gave birth to a baby girl, and so I've gifted her a Seaside sweater from the Seaside Set by Petite Knit, which I think was on my needles in the last podcast. So I've finished that. I knitted it in Drops Baby Merino in the colorway Olive and Natural, I want to say. The colored numbers are 38 and 02. And it's a really soft yarn. It's superwash, which I think is always great when you're gifting baby knits to people. And honestly, I loved working with it. I will definitely use it again for baby projects. I did not realize when I picked this color combo that it was basically the same as this, but also the same as my Marseille sweater, which is the first sweater that I've ever knit, which has stripes as well. So yeah, did not mean to do that, but it just happened that way. I really like an olive green for a baby, and I knew it was a girl, but I don't like sticking to gender, like the way people usually think about colors for baby girls and baby boys. So yeah, I really wanted to do this in olive. Her name is Iris, so I wish I had known that, so I could have done something in purple. I think that would have been cute, but I mean, still turned out really cute. It was a really easy project. I knitted the size 2 to 4 months, so she hasn't worn it yet, so I can't tell you how it fits on a baby yet, even though the baby can't really tell me if it fits well or not anyways. I don't think there are any German short row shaping at the back, but I don't think for baby knits they usually are. And it's just a fairly simple stockinette project, but with stripes, and it's a raglan. And I really liked the button detail, so I used buttons by Petite Knit. I think they're the same one she used for the Seaside Set as well, but I will try to link them down below if you're curious. I bought them from her shop, like from her website directly. And then I used, because I bought quite a few of these, I think I bought 3 skeins, and so I used about one skein to do a baby bear bonnet by Knitting for Olive, which is so cute, very quick to knit. I mean, quick-ish for me because, as I said, still had my pain, so I was taking it slow. And that was the first project that I knitted using the Continental knitting style because, as I said, switching from one knitting style to another does change your tension, or at least it did for me, which is one of the questions, but I'll get back to that later. Changes your tension, it's something that you have to get used to, so I thought it was a really great project, like a small project to get used to doing that knitting style. And yeah, I think I knitted like the second or third size in the pattern, so not the smallest newborn size. So when she wore it, when she I think my sister put her in on the day she came out of the hospital, it was a tiny bit a lot too big for her, but it was really cute. So I'm excited to have that fit on her head. And yeah, so the baby bear bonnet is worked pretty simply. I wouldn't say it's quite a beginner friendly pattern, just because it's got German short for shaping, it's got a lot of putting stitches on hold, then getting them back on the needle, it's got I-cord details. It's not the most difficult, but it's not the easiest either, but it was really pleasant in it, so that was nice. And the last thing that I did not get around finishing, unfortunately, and will go to whips for a second before I talk about the yarn cost of, or product cost for this. I did cast on the Seaside pants from the Seaside Set by Petite Knit. I don't have a lot to share with you here. It's on really tiny needles as well, so it's not easy to see, but I did originally intended to finish the whole set for my baby niece, but because of my arm pain I had to take quite a lot of breaks and I didn't want to rush into it. And when I went to see my sister, I was about here, so I thought I wouldn't have time to finish it anyways. Now I am going to see my sister quite soon again, so I could technically get back to it and probably finish it in time, because it's also the size 2 to 4 months and my baby niece is just 1 week old, so I think I would potentially have time to finish it before she can wear it, but I don't know. I feel like I've already given the other parts of the gift, so I don't know. I used the olive from Drops Baby Merino for that, so I've still got 2 full skeins basically of that, and even a little bit more, so I'll definitely finish them at one point, but maybe not for this baby. We'll see. So basically for the baby bear bonnet, I would say that I used, and I'll put it on the screen if I'm wrong because I don't know if my calculations are right, but I basically bought the pattern and then just one, not even a full skein of baby merino, but I'll count that as a full skein, and so that amounts to 9.67 euros for the total project cost. Pattern is 488, and so whatever is 9.67 minus 488 is the price of one ball of baby merino by Drops. And then for the Seaside set, I know that my calculations are not right because they probably take into account also the yarn for the pants, but if I had finished that, that would have been 20.41 euros for the whole thing. So the pattern cost is 6.05 and one skein of Drops Baby Merino is 3.19 euros. So not very expensive for a baby project. So that's good as well, because you know it's something that's gonna not be worn that much. Even though I would love for my sister to use it quite a lot. I mean, she's a baby. It's a sweater, so I know it's not the easiest to put on a baby, even though it does have that buttonhole for the baby's head to be easier to get through. And yeah, it's just something that's got quite a limited timeline or lifetime, and so it doesn't make sense to spend too much money on it, I don't think so. And I really enjoyed trying this yarn for the first time. I think this is one of the first Drops yarn that I'm using for myself, so, or for myself, that I'm using myself, so it was nice to try that out. Okay, let's move on to the next whip, which I think I'll get one of the whips that you know already. This one has not been my focus at all. From the moment I could knit on it again, it's not been my focus. Also because I'm still have like a tiny bit of pain, so I have to be careful, and I'm using still my English style knitting for this one because I started it in that style, so I want to have the same tension and everything. And that is my Zipper Sweater Light Man by Petite Knit, which I'm actually knitting for myself. So I'm doing the man version because that's the pattern I had, but I'm doing it for myself. I still haven't decided, and I still got a bit of time to decide if I want to knit the size extra small or small, because I'm still on the yoke, and I think it's only when you divide the stitches for the sleeve and the body that you, or something like that, somewhere around that, the stitch count changes. So I'm still on the same stitch count for size extra small and small. And yeah, so I don't have that much to share, I guess, since last time. I think I was on the yoke maybe like 3 centimeters less, but not that much. It's a raglan, so it takes a while. It's got a lot of stitches, but yeah, I'm really loving the fabric. This was supposed to be one of my spring knits. I don't think I'll get it done by the end of spring. I'm wanting to take this one quite slowly, just because, I don't know, I'm really loving the fabric, but it's also not the project that's exciting me the most at the moment, so I don't mind taking it slow. But yeah, I don't know when I'll finish this one. The yarn that I'm using for this is really, really lovely. It's a lovely combination. So I'm using Cumbria Fingering by the Fibre Company in the colorway Blancathra. This is a mix of 90% wool and 10% mohair, so it's a tiny bit itchy, I would say. It's got 100 grams for 300 meters. I think I've got 4 skeins of that, and I'm still on the first skein of both my yarns, so I think I'll have plenty, hopefully. And I'm holding it with Lace by the Sunday Fibre Company in the colorway Natural Wonder from her 70s issue collection, which was a really lovely collection. And this is 65% baby Surrey alpaca, 35% silk, and it's 320 meters per 50 grams. I've got 5 skeins, I want to say. This is really soft, really lovely, really squishy, and as you can see, they're not at all the same color. The Surrey silk is much more white, and this is much more of a grey beige, and it's giving a really lovely mild effect that I really, really enjoy. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, I'm really excited about this project. I'll get back to the construction, but I just want to chat a tiny bit more about this yarn, because the Sunday Fibre Company is such an amazing company. I love every collection that she puts out, and she's just started doing pre-orders for her newest collection, which is called the Sunday something. I don't remember, but I've been dreaming of buying more yarn from her, but that would not be right to do. But just go check her out because it's amazing. I really love it. So the construction of this one, if you don't know, you start by knitting the 1x1 collar, which you actually, like, this is a double, like you knit double this length, and then you fold it down together, you knit the stitches together, and then you start shaping the back neck with the raglan increases as well as German shortcross shaping. And once you're done with the German shortcross shaping, it's just a matter of knitting the raglan increases in stockinette. And you do put some stitches from the collar on hold, which you can see here, which you will then later on get back to on your needles to knit like a double knitting panel for the zipper to be inserted into. So I'm still on the yoke, and you knit it flat for the first bit, obviously, because that's where the zipper will go, here. And I'll include a clip of me trying it on, and you can kind of see how it fits for now. I am slightly worried that when I do like close the zipper, it's going to be really tight around my neck. But it is also 2x2 ribbing, so it's 1x1 ribbing, sorry, so it's quite stretchy, so we shall see. I'm not gonna go back and start over, that's for sure. Worst comes to worst, I'll just wear this unzipped, and that's fine. Let's move on to a sock project. So I've cast on this pair of socks a while ago, and I'm still not done with the first one. Socks take me a really long time. I don't know why. I really enjoy knitting on them, but also I've got quite big feet, so they take a while for me to knit, and I don't know, they just take forever. So I'm still on the first one, but look how cute it is. I love it. So these are the Quilty cabin socks by Crooked River Crochet. Hopefully I got that right. And I may have messed up the colorwork motif, but we'll just move past that. I don't know if you can see, but I've got one row of white here less than on the bottom, which I did not notice until I was well past the colorwork, so I was like, I'm not gonna go back and fix that. And so as you can see, I'm on the foot, on the leg, this part, so I've still got quite a bit to do to reach my size, and then I'll do the toe, and then I'll have to move on and do the second sock, and that's where I need your opinion. Should I do the same mistake on purpose on the colorwork chart, or should I do it how it's supposed to be done? And I don't think it will be too noticeable that there's a difference, because I mean, it's a small chart, so yeah, but maybe I should do the same mistake on purpose so that they're identical. Let me know your thoughts. I really enjoyed this sock. I really like the white ribbing for the hem of the sock. I think I'll do that again for the socks, and then it's just a simple, quite simple colorwork chart, and then a heel flap and gusset, and that's about it. I think I'm knitting the size 5, which is one of the largest size, and I think it may be a bit too big, but we'll see. Doesn't matter to me. For the main color, I'm using BFL Sock Twist by Les Petits Points Parisiens in the colorway Écorce, which is 80% Blueface Leicester and 20% nylon. It's 365 meters per 100 gram. And I'm pairing it with Arvetta by Phil Kalana in the colorway 101, I want to say, which is a similar blend of merino, superwash merino and nylon. I think it's like 85, 15, I don't know, something like that. So yeah, I'm taking it slow, but I am moving through it, so I'm hoping to get done through the first sock pretty quickly. I'll cast on the second sock quite soon after that, just so I don't have second sock syndrome, which does happen to me. I don't have that for sleeves, but for socks I do, so I need to cast it on like right as soon as I finish the first one, otherwise I'll never do it, and we'll see when I finish it. Okay, another project which is a really exciting one, and it's the girl dress by Vert Knit. Now it's starting to be in a bit of a state where if I show it to you, it's not gonna look like much, but hopefully you guys don't mind, and I have b-rolls of me trying it on. But I'm using Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colorway Olive, and this is 100% Burette silk. It's 250 meters for 50 grams, and I really like this yarn, and I'm so excited for the dress. So it may not look like much, but I have finished both panels, which I think I had finished last time, and I've now joined them together, and I've done the waist hem, knitted it down inward, and now I'm about to start the skirt. So I've got to pick up stitches from the hem to start the skirt, and I've also added the elastic, which you can see here, which I've not cut yet, but you can hopefully see a little bit of how the hem is looking. And I mean, I think this is just going to be so lovely. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do exactly for the back panels. I know I'm going to knit some back panels to have more coverage, but I don't know if I'm going to do the same ones but smaller, or lace ones, because I know one of the test knitters did a lace back panel, which is absolutely gorgeous, and she's shared the lace chart on her Ravelry page, so I don't know, we'll see. I think I've still got time before I have to decide. I think I'm still on one of the first or second skeins, so I bought way too many. I bought 12 because I do want to make it quite long, so we'll see how many skeins that take me. If I don't use all of them, I can always use that for like a summer top, that's fine. Whoops, sorry, that was my phone. So yeah, if you don't know the girl dress, it's a spaghetti strap wrap dress with a quite tight fitting waist hem and then kind of an A-line skirt. I am gonna do double knitting straps to have just a tiny bit more coverage for my bra straps, and then you just knit both front panels separately. You join them together at the waist, as I said, and then you knit the waistband, and you knit it double the length and you fold it inwards. I will have a project vlog for this, which hopefully will be able to show you the steps more clearly, so that if you want to knit this one, you can have a little bit more of a guidance. I had help from Anita Makes. She did a video on like instructions for the waistband because it was a tiny bit confusing. I think if I hadn't had that video, which I watched before doing this, I think I would have understood the pattern, but it was really helpful to have like a visual explanation of it anyways. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm knitting this for a wedding that's in September and we're in May, and because I have not been able to knit on for 2 months, I am slightly worried that I'm not gonna have enough time to finish the skirt, but we'll see. Worst comes to worst, I can always make the skirt a bit shorter, but I think I'll be able to wear this for the wedding, hopefully. Okay, last project is one that you haven't seen before, that's quite advanced, and that is a test knit. So I'm knitting the Cove Sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl, or Sophie. She did release this pattern, I want to say about 2-3 years ago, but she's doing an update to the pattern, and it does, I think, involve some difference in stitch count and even just the construction a tiny bit. And so because of that, she wanted to do another test knit, and because I had already planned to knit this project this year, before she even talked about doing an update on the pattern, I had bought the pattern, I had most of the yarn for it, and I wanted to knit on it in the fall. And so when I saw the test knit, I was like, I can always apply. If I don't get it, fine, I don't mind. But if I get it, I mean, I was gonna knit it anyway, so I can give her feedback as well. I did warn her that I did have my tendonitis for a bit, and so I wasn't sure I was going to be able to finish on time, but the deadline is in September and I've got most of the knit done already. So it's another navy project. I wanted to knit another navy blue thing for my navy cal, which I ran with my friend Sandra. It's now finished, but we still have to draw the winners. By the time you watch this video, they will be drawn, but yeah, I wanted to have another project on the go for that, and I was debating between casting this on and the square neck camisole by Garmslicked, which I do still want to cast on in the next few weeks, hopefully, which is another navy blue project. But because this is a test knit, I decided to do this one first. So hopefully you're gonna be able to see how it's looking, and I'll have b-rolls as well. So the Cove Sweater features 2x2 ribbing details. It's got a really lovely shoulder detail. I really like how it's looking, and it's got an option to do a curved hem, which I did not do. I asked her if I could not do it, and she said, well, do whatever you want to do, whatever fits you best. I couldn't really see from the pictures what that looked like compared to a non-curved hem, and so I decided I would rather just do a normal thing, just to make sure I knew I could wear it and that would fit me. But it also has some quite drastic, I would say, decreases around the bottom of the sleeve. Ooh, I didn't tell you what I'm wearing, I'll do that afterwards. And so I'm excited for that as well. I'm still on the hem of the body of the 2x2, but I am almost done with it, so I will try it on for you afterwards to show you how it's looking, but I really enjoy the look of that. I did knit this using Continental style knitting, so you might be able to tell, but I mean, it is in navy blue, so probably not. We'll talk about that later. at the end of the video. But yeah, so that was a good way for me to have, because most of my other projects I've cast on before I switched knitting style, I'm keeping that knitting style for them, if that makes sense. And so I wanted to have at least one project from the English style knitting and one from the continental style knitting, because I think that's also a good way for me to switch up my knitting style and to prevent the pain, if that makes sense. So yeah, so this has flown by. I mean, I did take it with me. That was my only project I took with me on, oh, that's a lie, I took the socks, but I didn't really knit on the socks when I went to Paris and then Switzerland to be with my sisters, and so that was the only thing I had, so that was quite fast. So the shaping of this, this is a drop shoulder pattern, so you start at the back neck, you shape the back with increases, which is what shapes or what creates that line for the shoulder, and then once you reach a certain amount of the back panel, for my size at least, which is size D, I just didn't have any armhole shaping, but I think for the other sizes you do. And then you pick up stitches for one shoulder, you knit it quite, you know, a long way down, same thing for the other, then you join them together with backward loop stitches under the neck, then you finish the front panel, you join it all together in the round, and you're just knitting, stuck in it in the round forever. Now I will say the color takes a while because it's 2x2 ribbing, and you're supposed to do 14 to 15 centimeters of ribbing. I did not do that. I did, I think, 12 centimeters, and then I folded it down. It's a really squishy color. I'm so excited for this. It's gonna be so lovely and warm. But yeah, just one, got a little bit tired of the 2x2 ribbing, and two, I think I like the look of that just a tiny bit shorter than on the pattern pictures, so I decided to do that. And yeah, and then it's just 2x2 ribbing at the bottom. Now if you're doing the curved hem, I think you've got some German chartreuse shaping to do that hem. So that's it for the construction. Now let me talk about the yarn that I'm using. I'm using a really lovely yarn from Japan that I bought when I was there 2 years ago now, well, a year and a half ago. This is Amirisu's Stroll, I think, in the colorway Midnight, and it's a DK weight superwash yarn. I've got the labels somewhere. So this is 250 yards or 228 meters for 100 grams, and it's spun and dyed in Japan. It's a really, really lovely yarn. It's quite squishy, quite soft, and I'm pairing it with Onling number 10, which is their silk mohair in the colorway very dark blue, I want to say, which is 0489. And this is 70% super kid mohair and 30% silk. It's really soft, really squishy. It does peel a bit when I'm knitting with it. I've got mohair all over me, but it's a really lovely combination. So it's gonna make for a great sweater, but it's gonna be quite warm, and obviously it's not really weather appropriate, so I'm excited to start knitting on something else. But yeah, I think once I'm done with the body, I'm gonna maybe put it on hold a tiny bit before I do the sleeves, just because I've got to finish my dress, and also because I've got plenty of time before the end of the test knit, so I don't have to rush it. Now let's talk about what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my porcelain sweater, which is a pattern by Lene Holme-Semse. I did a whole project vlog on this. I talked about it a lot as well in one of my latest videos, which is my like top 10 knits that I've ever knit. So if you want more detail on it, you can go look at either of them, but I really, really love this knit. So let's now talk about everything that I bought over the last month, because I decided to stop being on a yarn buying ban, so I bought a lot. I've talked a little bit about this yarn before because I did a Paris vlog where I showed you around Paris and also what I bought in Paris. So I'm going to talk briefly about it just in case you have not seen that vlog, but I've talked about this before. I have bought Snefnug by Camaroso. I bought 9 skeins, This is in the colorway Snevid 7811, which is like the Snow White kind of color. And this is 55% baby alpaca, 35% organic cotton, and 10% fine merino wool. I've used it before for my sister's Sophie hood, and I'm excited to use it in a garment. So I'm gonna pair it with Tilia by Filcolana in the colorway 101, and this one is 70% kin mohair, 30% silk, and it's 210 meters per 25 grams. And this makes for the squishiest combination, and obviously I'm going to be knitting a cloud sweater with this. So I've done 2 swatches, and here they are. And so the cloud sweater is a pattern by Petite Knit. It's, I think, knitted on pretty large needles, I would say 5mm needles, and it's just going to be the dreamiest knit ever. I don't think I'm gonna cast this on quite yet, just because I don't know, I need your opinion, but we'll talk about the other yarns first and then I'll ask you what should I cast on next. But yeah, this wasn't on my plans necessarily. I really wanted to knit that sweater one way or another, like sometime, but I just saw the yarn in the store and I was like, oh, I really want to knit that sweater in a white. I initially wanted to knit it in a color, like something a really pretty blue or maybe even a pink, which is a bit wild for me, but I didn't like the snap neck that they had in the store in other colors, and so I decided to go with the white. But I'm really glad I did, because I think it's going to be very versatile and easy for me to wear, so that'll be nice. I think I bought 5 or 6 skeins of the Tilia, and then I bought Retrosaria Roma Parma Mondim, which I had never seen in person before, and so when I saw it I was like, I need to try this out. And this is in the colorway, I think 209, I think. This is not really a sock yarn, but most people have used it to knit socks, and so I think I'm either gonna knit socks with it or maybe a beanie, I think, maybe paired with a mohair or alpaca lace weight yarn. That could be nice. And so this is 100% Portuguese wool, and it's 385 meters for 100 grams. And it's, yeah, this really lovely speckled color. I really like this. I went quite neutral when I bought those yarns. I initially went to the yarn store for this. So you may know, if you've watched my videos before, that I would really like to make a pair of shorts for myself that I would want to self-draft. So I had bought Knitting for Live Merino, Merino, in the colorway Licorice and Cream, and so, which is a black and a white, and I really loved how they looked together. But then I started swatching, and I think the white is just too stark against the black. It's just not the look that I wanted. It's really giving white and black, but my shorts, which I'm basing my design on, which, I mean, I say my design, I don't think it's going to be a pattern, but at least what I make for myself, they're a bit more of a muted beige white, and so I just don't love how that looks. I also think I need to either go down a needle size or use my English style knitting to do this instead of the Continental style knitting, which I did for the swatch, because you can see it's quite see-through, and I just don't love how loose the stitches are. And I think for a pair of shorts especially, I want this to be quite, not dense, but denser than this. So I was going to redo the swatch anyways, and so I went to the store to be able to compare the Licorice colorway with other Knitting for Live colorways, and so I ended up choosing the Marzipan colorway, which is a little bit more pink tone, or at least it was that way for my Friday sleepover, which I knitted in this yarn. But this dye lot at least is a bit less pink tone, and I think with the black it's just gonna be much better. Hopefully you can see like the difference. I think this is gonna be lovelier. The one thing is I only bought 2 of these, and I think I should have bought 3 if not 4. So hopefully I have enough. We'll see. This is all an experiment anyway, so we shall see. So yeah, I bought 2 of those. And then actually before I left for Paris, there was one of my online yarn shop I usually buy from called Lilycom 2, which is a French yarn store. They had a 15% discount on their whole website, and I had gift card to use that my best friends gifted me for my birthday, which was in December. So I had quite a bit of money to use, and there was a discount, so I couldn't do without that. So I bought 2 sweater quantities. The first one is I really wanted to try Atlas by Sensgarn. So I got the colorway 1070, which I think is Charcoal Melange, which is a really beautiful heathered grey. I'm really fussy about my greys, but I think this one is going to be really nice to pair with most of my wardrobe. I've been meaning to have a dark grey sweater. I do have my Dagmar, which is in progress but hibernating, which is going to be a dark grey sweater, but it's a full cable project, and I wanted a stockinette project in a dark grey, and I wanted a sweater. I would like to also make the Celine cardigan by Merino Knit, which I've knitted before, in a dark grey again, but that'll be for later. And so I decided to buy this to make the road sweater by Ozetta, which I'm so excited to make. It's a beautiful pattern. I think it's going to be lovely. I think this will come up later this year, even probably next winter, early next year. We'll see. And I think I bought 12 skeins of that. The Atlas is 70% Norwegian lamb's wool and 30% merino wool. It feels quite soft, but it does have like a feeling of being rustic, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't feel itchy, but it also doesn't feel like full merino wool. And then I also got, I'm so excited for this, I also got Peer Gynt in the Night Sky and Almond Tweed colorways for an Olga sweater by Petite Knit. And the Peer Gynt is 100% Norwegian wool. It's 91 meters per 50 grams. This one is 108 meters per 50 grams, so it's a little bit thicker. No, it's a little bit less thick than the Peer Gynt. And yeah, I'm really excited to pair these 2 together for the Olga sweater. So that's a I was gonna say cardigan. It's not. I'm not knitting the cardigan. I'm gonna be knitting. Actually, am I gonna be knitting the sweater? I love the look of the sweater, but now I'm thinking maybe the cardigan. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Should I do the sweater or the jacket? I have made a swatch, which is so cute, but I'm a little bit on the looser gauge, which is crazy. Again, I'm knitting this in the Continental style knitting, so I've got more stitches than I should per centimeter. So I think I'm gonna try to do a swatch with my English style knitting, because that should get me closer to the gauge. I don't want to go down a needle size because this is knit on 4mm needles, and I don't think my arm could handle knitting on 3.5mm needles for the Peer Gynt. So yeah, I think I'm gonna swatch with my English style knitting, and we'll see where that gets me. I also don't love the fabric. It's quite see-through, so I'm hoping that knitting in the English style is going to get me a bit of a denser fabric. So that's all of the yarns that I bought, but as I said, I'm not really sure what my next project is going to be. If I'm going off of my spring wish list, I wanted to also cass on the square neck camisole, which I told you about, but also the sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and it's gonna be in a like cornflower blue. I think it's gonna be really pretty. So I think I'm gonna wait until I finish at least the Cove Sweater. Ideally, I would like to reduce the number of whips that I have at the moment. I would rather just have one big project and one small project. But first up, I've got the girl dress, which is going to be a long-term, quite big project. I do love having a sweater or a cardigan on the go all the time, so I would need another project, like another big project, as well as my girl dress at the same time, but right now I've got 2 sweater projects, the socks, kind of the seaside pants, but they're gonna be put aside for a bit, and the girl dress. So I don't know if I want to cast on another sweater once I finish the Cove Sweater, because I will still have the zipper sweater light man on the needles, but that one I as I said, I want to take this quite slow, so I don't know what to do. I'm also craving casting on everything, so like, do I cast on this project? Do I cast on the sweater number 15, which I think is still going to be really pretty for spring, but I'm not going to finish it in spring? Should I do the square neck camisole, because then I can wear it probably during the summer? But I also really want to cast on a black cardigan, because that's really something that's missing in my wardrobe. I'm also really loving the Marielle Blas, which is something that I'm going to be knitting this year anyways, so I've got plenty of ideas, not enough time because I'm taking a lot of breaks, but also just because, you know, you can't spend all of your time knitting, unfortunately. So I would really love your input on what to cast on next, and I might pop a poll on Instagram as well in a couple of days / maybe a couple of weeks to get your opinion on that. So if you're wanting to participate, you should follow me on Instagram. But let's move on to the Q&A about switching from English style knitting to continental style knitting. So I put up a question box on my Instagram again to ask you if you had any questions about this, because some people had questions on my latest videos, and so I thought this would be nice to answer them, hopefully all of them, in this one. So sample of the yarn asked, did you try Portuguese purling? It maybe could help you, because I have said that when I do the continental style purling, which I do the Norwegian purl, it does kind of hurt a bit. I have not tried the Portuguese purling, so I might do that, but I also think that it's mainly a matter of me being accustomed to the Norwegian purls and not necessarily that it's hurting, if that makes sense. MB Makes asked, can you switch mid-project, or do you see a difference with the two techniques? I am definitely not able to switch because my tension is quite different from the two, which I don't know how visible it's going to be with these two swatches, but for the cloud sweater I did one swatch in the continental style knitting and one in the English style knitting. One because I wanted to see the difference in tension, but also because I want to see which style to use for the projects, and that's one thing that I think I will do in the next few months, is to always swatch in one and the other, because it's giving me a different drape, different density of fabric, and also it's usually helping me get gauged to knit continental versus English, because English I'm much tighter. So this is the continental style, and this is it, yeah, and this one is the English style. And hopefully you can see that the one here, this one, is much denser, and this one, the tension isn't as neat. Hopefully you can see the difference in the stitches, whereas I feel like in English style my tension is really, really neat. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a better idea. I wanted to show you this one as well, which is the sweater number 15 swatch. I did it again in the continental style, which is this one, and I wanted to show you the English style that I've got somewhere, but I can't find it, so apologies. But this one I'm getting gauge with, and with the English style I could not get gauge on, and so I was going to do a size up in the pattern, whereas with this, because I'm getting gauge, even though it's a little bit loose, like, I think against my skin it'll be fine, so I think I'm still going to do it in this. I don't know, I'm not sure, but so hopefully that answered your question. Tommy Flood asked, do you experience any pain in your hand in any of the styles? So at the moment, because my pain is still not 100% fixed, I'm still doing exercises, I'm still going to the physio, I do still experience some pains in both knitting style, but I do think with the continental style I might get fewer pain, or at least because I'm changing from knitting Continental, knitting English, depending on the project I'm knitting on, I think it helps with having less pain. Pia Flag, hope I pronounced that right, asked, did it change your tension? If so, how? So as I said, with the Continental style, I'm much looser, whereas with the English style, I'm a very, very tight knitter. Annika Makes asked, did it take your hands, wrist time to get used to it? Did you do any stretches to help? So I didn't really do any type of stretches particularly to switch knitting style, but it did take a bit of time to get used to it. I think when I first started like a month ago to try to knit Continental, I couldn't get it right because the way I was holding the yarn was just not natural to me, and this time around I found a way that is much more natural, and so very quickly, in like a couple of minutes, I got kind of used to it. But because it still feels very different to knitting English style, because I'm much less able to, how do you say that, to change the tension, or like to make sure my tension is even. I feel like with the English style, because I'm very tight, it's also because I'm able to really tighten up the stitches, which I do without really thinking. But with the Continental style and the way I hold my yarn, I'm just not able to get the tension to be how I want it to be, so that's why I'm much looser, I think. Sylvia Santos asked, do you feel the movement in Continental is as fluid as with English style? I would say yes, just because I did get around to finding the way to hold my yarn that makes sense to me, but I do in a way prefer the English style because I can figure out the tension, or like I can handle, I am not able to find the word, but like I can direct the tension to be how I want it to be with the English style, whereas with the Continental style it's much less, I have to do what it does. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. Oronit asked as well, did it change your tension? Which I answered. Dorina Moisa 3 asked, I'm interested to know how you purl and keep the tension while purling. I knit Eastern style and I have difficulties when knitting front and back and then joining in the round. Thanks, can't wait. Really lovely. I don't think my tension from when I'm knitting versus when I'm purling in Continental is that different, thankfully. I think they're both quite loose, but sometimes when I knit certain, like on the fabric, I can tell that it's a little bit different. Yeah, I don't know how to show you. On the Cove Sweater, for example, which is going to be tricky to show you, but you do the yoke flat basically, and then you join it around, and I don't think there's that much of a difference in the fabric, which again, it's navy blue, so you're not going to be able to see, but this is the armhole, so the top is knit flat, and then here it's knit in the round, and it's pretty similar, I would say. I think I've always been quite lucky in that my knits and my purls are about the same tension, even though for English they're much tighter, and then for Continental they're looser. So I don't know if that helps, even though I answered your question. I know maybe you were expecting something else, but yeah. So I think that was all of the questions that I got, and yeah, as I said, I think I'll stick to using English style from time to time, especially because, as I said, I think it helps with the pain, but also just depending on the project, depending on the drape that the combination gets me, I think I'll still use it a tiny bit. So I will try to make sure to always mention if I'm doing English style or Continental style when I'm knitting on a pattern, and hopefully that will help. I don't know. So let me know what you've been loving knitting on lately. I would love to hear it. As I said, I'm like, I guess because I have not been able to knit for a bit, I'm like wanting to knit even more than usual, and I usually want to knit a lot, so let me know what I should cast on next, because I'm not sure I want to cast on everything, and I don't know if I should stick to my plans, which, I mean, I'll knit everything that's on my knitting wish list anyways for spring, but maybe later on in the year. I don't know. I'm very happy to be back, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!